YouTube is a fascinating place, isn't it? You have clicked on one out of how many videos? So I want to make this worth your time. I, as a creator, have watched, probably tens of thousands of YouTube videos by this point, just in the last few years, studying it, trying to get what are channels doing? What's succeeding? What should I avoid at all costs? And I came across a very interesting channel called Grim. I watched a few videos of this channel, Grim, and I immediately recognized there's something different here, but are they trying to hustle? Are they trying to sell something? And so I didn't order this book immediately. Grim Begins. A fascinating story. This channel, they kind of talk about where our society is a lot. Stories, narratives, how to avoid pitfalls of, not being an honorable man. I am into self-help stuff in terms of growth, personal growth, spirituality. I follow Judaism, as you know, so I'm looking for a path that our current society does not want us to follow. And I've always been aware of the fact that socialism can poison you in terms of atheism makes us truly unhappy. Look at our society. Now you might say, Benjamin, our society is not communist or socialist. It's not. You're right. And so why am I talking about atheism in our society and comparing that to communism, making us miserable? And that's where this book comes in. Grim Begins. And I want to make a brief review of this book that I've read. It's about a young man, Andrej. Andrej finds himself at conflict with the Soviet communist ideas of his Stasi father, a true faithful to the communist regime. But he also finds personal loss in a loved one, forcing himself to depend upon contacts that he made by chance. And this, with nowhere else to go, plunges him into a criminal underworld of smuggling Western goods, stolen Western goods, around the Soviet Union, and forcing him to depend upon a friendship of someone he does not know. Characters appear as if off the distant Russian steppe, who he must build alliances with, not knowing their virtues, not knowing their reasons for befriending him, and being a young man he is naive. This will lead him to torture, physical and emotional, in the cruelty of the Soviet system, and eventually a grueling train ride into the east of the Gulag camps of the Soviet prison system. Only there does he begin to understand what a godless system has created, how gangs of thieves can operate within the system by becoming part of the system. Andrej's retelling of his entries into the Soviet Gulag system and the gangs which operate there force us to reflect upon the flaws in our liberal democratic system as well, not just the communist one, and on how corruption rises from a godless society lacking honor and virtue in its principal foundations. Growing up in East Germany during the late phases of the USSR in the 1980s, things were looking bad, and he wanted a different path from his father, who was a member of the Stasi, police, military caste, and quite high ranking. He could have had a good life, but he wanted freedom, recognizing that the guards within the system were prisoners within the system too. And it's much like our current society in a way that you can have anything you want if you play by the rules, be part of this consumerist culture. But if you want something deeper and meaningful in your life, like I want to follow God, or you want to raise a family, or you want a career that's meaningful, that gives back to others and provides you with a path that gives you more than just a paycheck. If you want that from this culture that's out there, you often get punished for it. And what we see in this novel, which is hard-hitting, fast-paced, but human is a young man slowly coming to understand what the communist system was, whilst writing it from the perspective of someone from the future, able to compare it to our system here in the West today, and how the two are more similar than we like to admit. And he gets sent out into Siberia, where he has to learn the rules of the game. And the game is only beginning by the end of this book, and I look forward to reading more. It leaves you wanting more, and that is what a good book should do. What you find in this book as well are, every now and then, a set of rules for living, for being honorable, for women. And this is helpful in our society in which we're lacking narratives, we're lacking stories, and that's what this book is trying to do. It's trying to give a story about redemption for the self. And so many of our stories today, like you go to the film house and watch a film, they don't mean anything. There's no depth. They don't want you to think about the meanings behind the rules in our society. He's pointing out in this book, Wictor Miesok is his name. He's pointing out in this book that the system is atheist. Not just communism, but also our liberal consumerism in the West. Both systems are atheist, and they're trapping you to devoid you of meaning in the same way by removing God and spirituality or depth of meaning from the equation of how you succeed within the society. It's clever, this, by showing that atheism is at the root of both conformist ideologies in the former East and the West here now. He's showing that the roots of our problems are spiritual, and along deeper human narratives, civilizational answers need to be met, which are not had today. And so I look forward to where the hero, Andrej, is going. He's gone to the East by way of a story that's complex, which leads you to find characters, which questions how you view loyalty to people that you meet along the way, and why the character finds loyalty within some after finding disloyalty in others. And what makes a good friend? To understand what makes a good friend, you have to understand who you are. And those are answers that our society is not giving us today, because those answers lie in spiritual faith things. Because those answers lay in narratives, stories, myths, tales, fables that have been passed down for generations. He's suggesting here that in the depths of hell, we find the greatest diamonds. I like that. And so this character, Andrej, is having to make life and death choices in a Gulag, that's a Soviet prison in Siberia. And the ending of this is like the ending of the first chapter. So I hope they don't disappoint me, this Grimm, or Wictor Miesok. It's promoted by Grimm, but written by Wictor here. It's a clever book. It does have some instances when it's almost too simple, but I get why they did that. And I keep saying they. There's Grimm and there's Wictor here. It says book 1. There's a suggestion that this story is going to take place over several books. So that's exciting. I understand then why this first book took such broad scope in traveling across the Soviet Union with a lot of tense situations. One thing that pulled me into this world, well, into the YouTube channel Grimm, was, as you know, on my own channel, I like languages. And the Russian language is extraordinarily beautiful. It's brutal. It's harsh. But because the Russian language has had so much influence from Finnic languages and Turkic languages and all kinds of other languages within the wider system, of Eurasia. It has a very large spectrum of sound, more than English or French. It's got a lot of phonemes. And on this channel, Grimm, they use words from the Russian language here and there. They sprinkle it like a fine delicacy. And I see that in this book as well. They use Russian, which is very enjoyable for me. And I hope they continue that in the next few books to come. So I highly suggest this. As I said, I'll put a link down below. I really enjoyed this book. It's a delve into a world that you don't think of when you think of the Soviet Union. Films and books tend to be set in either the Revolution of 1917 or World War II, or even in this 1960s James Bond spy era. This feels more real, more honest, because it's not in any of those time periods. It's set in the 1980s. From the perspective of a young man who you get the feeling he's still alive today, like you're sitting around a table talking to this guy and he's telling you about the memories of his life and how he went into this criminal Gulag world and met thieves and murderers and was tortured, and actually out of that began to resonate his Christian identity. I mean, I'm not Christian, but I do think seriously that if there were more of a Christian ethos in our culture, then people would not be dying alone slowly watching YouTube videos in their room. I don't meet many of you, but many of you write me who you're clearly alone. And I sincerely believe that the communist system and the liberal democratic system, both of them, by removing God, are making men in our society much more alone than we should be. And we're going to have to find a way to break out of that prison and find light. And that's exactly what this book is about.